Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nazri bin Abdul from Group 2. Our group has been assigned the topic related to good and service tax. Before we begin our presentation, allow me to introduce the member of our group. Our team consists of Muhammad Khairun bin Abdul Halim, Zaniah binti Awal, Maizatul Akila binti Zamri, Nur Afiqah binti Mazli, and I, Muhammad Nazri bin Abdul. Next, the content of the presentation consists of introduction, objective, policy problem, government strategy, strength of GST, weakness of GST, recommendation, and conclusion. Now, enjoy the presentation.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Muhammad Khairun and I will present an introduction to what we do as an introduction to Good and Service Tax GST. The implementation of the Goods and Service Tax GST in Malaysia under the leadership of Prime Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak represent a momentous stride. This significant measure was officially announced during the presentation of Budget 2014 in Parliament on the 20th of October 2013 and took effect from the 1st of April 2015. Originating in France in the 1950s, GST has since been adopted by over 160 countries worldwide, including Asian nations except Myanmar and Brunei. Malaysia in particular witnessed a remarkable return of up to 30 billion by the end of 2015 as a result of this taxation initiative. GST was introduced as a superior and more transparent tax system, replacing the Sales and Tax Service SST. The previous system had been marred by administrative and compliance weakness. In contrast, GST operates by taxing each stage of the supply chain based on the value added, enabling traders to reclaim input tax with simultaneous reducing business costs. Furthermore, the introduction of GST was accompanied by measures designed to ensure that the low-income growers were not overburdened. Exemptions were implemented for basic food items and essential services to safeguard the economic well-being of those in need. The purpose behind this transformative measure was to establish a fair, equitable, and business-friendly tax system for the nation, which simultaneously enhance the long-term strength of Malaysia's economy. Despite encountering various challenges and discounts within the community, the successful implementation of GST has demonstrated its ability to address the shortcomings of the previous tax system and people the country's economic growth.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to our valuable lecturer Dr. Farah and my fellow friend. My name is Nur Afiqah binti Mazli and I will represent about the objective of this research. The first one is to study about GST and why it is being introduced and implemented in Malaysia. The second one is to analyse the policy problem faced and the government strategy to overcome it. The third one is to discuss the strength and weakness of this GST. And last, to find the recommendation and suggestion if the GST want to reintroduce in Malaysian economy.
Hi, now we back again and now I will present for the part of the policy problem. When Malaysia introduced the Goods and Service Tax or GST in 2015, three major policy problems emerged that significantly impact both business and consumer. The first critical issue was widespread confusion and ignorance about GST implementation. Many traders, especially small and medium enterprise, struggled to understand the basic GST mechanism, from calculating methods to identify taxable goods. This lack of understanding led to poor compliance and create uncertainty in the market. For instance, many small retail shop owners, particularly in rural areas, found themselves at risk of legal action simply because they lack proper information and training about GST procedure. The second major problem was the indirect increase in goods price. While the government promoted GST as an improvement over the previous sales and service tax, consumer reported price increase even on GST exempt item. This creates a significant burden, especially for ordinary citizens buying daily necessities like groceries and household items. The situation was further complicated by some traders who took advantage of the GST implementation to raise price unjustifiable. Finally, enforcement and monitoring became serious challenge. The Royal Malaysia Custom Department faced numerous cases of non-compliance and fraud, including falsified claims and sales manipulation. Small and medium enterprises struggle with compliance costs and documentation requirements. Many businesses found themselves at risk of penalty simply due to their inability to maintain proper GST records or understanding complex compliance requirements. This problem highlights the crucial need for better education, clearer communication, and more effective monitoring system to ensure successful implementation of GST system.
Hi everyone, today I will discuss how Malaysia introduced the GST. This was a significant step toward diversifying the nation's income streams and ensuring fiscal sustainability. I will outline the key strategies that made this transition successful. Number 1, public education and awareness campaign. The first step was to educate and raise awareness among the public, recognizing that the transition from the SST to GST could lead to misunderstandings. The government launched large-scale outreach campaigns. This included town hall meetings, workshops, and seminars held nationwide by the Royal Malaysian Custom Department. Number 2, businesses assistance. Businesses, particularly SMEs, face challenges adapting to GST. To address this issue, the government offered training, technical support, and tax incentive. Number 3, increasing monitoring and enforcement. To ensure compliance and prevent abuse, the government strengthened enforcement and monitoring. Anti-profiteering measures were introduced to stop businesses from using GST as an excuse to raise price unfairly. Frequent audit and inspection by the domestic trade, cooperatives, and consumerism ministry ensure businesses adhere to the new tax regulation. Additionally, consumers hotline allowed the public to report suspicious pricing practices. Number 4, social safety net for low-income group. The government implemented social safety net to protect vulnerable group from the financial impact of GST. Programs like Bantuan Rakyat Satu Malaysia, BRIM, provided direct financial aid to low-income households. Essential goods and services such as food, healthcare, and public transportation were zero-rated or GST exempt, ensuring that the basic needs of the population were not compromised. Number 5, fiscal consolidation and revenue diversification. GST was a key part of Malaysia's border fiscal strategy. By reducing dependence on oil revenues, the government aimed to stabilize its budget and reduce the fiscal deficit. The revenue generated from GST supported critical national development projects including healthcare, education, and infrastructure. The system also improved transparency and efficiency in tax collection. Number 6, frequent evaluation and adjustment. Finally, the government adopted a flexible approach, emphasizing continuous evaluation and modification. Feedback from businesses and the public was collected to improve the GST system. This iterative process allowed policymakers to make necessary adjustments, ensuring that the tax system remained fair, practical, and sustainable. Move on to the next slide. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Dr. Farah Adila and fellow friends. I am Masatu Akila binti Zamri and I will present about the strength of the goods and services tax. First, broadening the tax base refers to expanding the range of goods, services, and economic activities subject to tax taxation. Implementing or increasing the scope of a goods and services tax is a common method to achieve this. GST is a value-added tax applied to most goods and services sold for domestic consumption. A broader tax base provides a more stable and increased source of revenue which can fund public services, infrastructure, and social programs. Besides that, a broader GST base can lead to more efficient allocation of resources as it minimizes market distortion caused by selective tax exemption and concession. By reducing evasion and erosion by simplifying the GST structure by reducing exemption and lowering rates can minimize tax evasion and avoidance. The second, enhance quality of life for nation building. The GST is a comprehensive indirect tax levied on the manufacture, sale, and consumption of goods and services at the national level. It aims to unify the taxation system, reduce tax evasions, and streamline the process of tax collection. GST plays a critical role in a nation building by promoting economic growth, ensuring equitable distribution of resources, and improving the overall quality of life for citizens. The third, GST improves revenue collection in Malaysia. The shift to GST leads to more consistent and reliable revenue stream for the government. GST plays a pivotal role in improving revenue collection in Malaysia by broadening the tax base, enhancing compliance, and streamlining the tax system. However, its report highlights two challenges of balancing efficient tax collection with public sentiment and economic impact. The last one, transparency and efficiency. GST enhances transparency by promoting clear documentations, reducing tax evasions, and using digital systems for reporting and compliance. It improves efficiency by simplifying the tax structure, automating processes, and reducing the administrative burden on businesses and tax authorities. These features make GST an effective tool for modern tax administration, fostering a more equitable and efficient economic environment. That's all from me. I will pass to next presenter, Miss Afika. Thank you.
Okay, next we look at the weakness of GST. Okay, the first one is the rate charge is too high. According to Muhammad 2023, one of the reasons why GST is being rejected by the people is because the rate charge is too high, that is 6%. At initial stage, it should be introduced at 2% or 3% only, and then can be increased slowly to 5% or 6% from a year to year. This is because when it comes to tax, it is an issue that's sensitive to people, especially those with low income, because they will feel affected and burdened. So that's why they will feel that the implementation of GST will further increase their total expenditure. The second one is GST implementation mechanism and system that is too direct. The sudden introduction of GST had a big impact to the people. This is because people lack of understanding of what GST and its usefulness to the national economy. This GST implementation mechanism should take into account various aspects and be refined and may start with several categories of goods and services and then can expand from time to time. Awareness campaign, for example, must be organized to consumer and traders to give awareness that it is everyone's responsibility to make GST a success. The creation of a more friendly system can be also be used as an information platform if needed by the parties concerned. Okay, the third factor that contribute to the weakness of this GST is increased costs for business. This issue affects traders, especially the small traders. This is because the claim process for GST payment for goods and services they do in business takes a long time. This affects the cash flow of their business and as well as industry with long payment cycle. In business, the implementation of GST present a high challenge to compliance with charge rates. Various records and documents are required or prepared to ensure that they remit the correct amount of tax. For smaller traders or for smaller businesses, their lack of access and convenience makes them feel that GST is very complicated, has an impact on their business competition. Okay, last, GST give a high impact on consumer, that is the people. As stated by Hamzah 2023, application of GST covers a wide range of people. Every type of consumer has a GST to pay at every stage and end up the final stage is going to be expensive and higher. That is the people. GST should not burden the people. The people are the main contributor to the country's economy. So, the implementation of tax such as GST or the latest SST needs to be refined again.
Next, we discuss on recommendation for the reintroduction of GST in Malaysia. Number 1, gradual implementation with a lower rate. GST should be reintroduced at a lower rate, such as 3 to 4% instead of previous 6%. This phased approach allows consumers and businesses to adapt gradually, reducing inflationary pressures and public resistance. Number 2, exemption and zero rate items. Basic necessities like rice, fresh vegetables and healthcare services should remain exempt or zero rated. This ensures that low income households are not disproportionately affected, promoting social equity while maintaining affordability for essential goods and services. Number 3, enhance public awareness and education campaign. Public education is crucial. Many people opposed GST in the past because they didn't understand its benefit. Comprehensive campaign, including workshop, media outreach, and partnership with businesses can improve public understanding and compliance. Number 4, streamlining tax refund. Businesses, especially SMEs, need efficient tax refund processes. Delays in past caused cash flow problems. Implementing automated systems like those used in Singapore can streamline submission and ensure timely refunds, boosting economic confidence. Number 5, strengthening enforcement and monitoring. Enforcement must be robust, leveraging technologies such as artificial intelligence and big data analytics can detect anomalies, reduce tax evasion, and ensure effective GST collection. Electronic invoicing system, as used in Singapore and in South Korea, are model to consider. Number 6, targeted assistance for low-income households. To address GST's regressive nature, the government can offer targeted support such as cash transfer or subsidies for essential goods. This ensures that GST does not worsen inequality while supporting vulnerable groups. Number 7, continuous review and feedback. A continuous feedback mechanism is essential. A dedicated task force can gather insight from businesses and consumers, enabling regular reviews and adjustment to GST policies to ensure they remain effective and fair. Number 8, digital adoption for compliance. Encouraging businesses to adopt digital tools like e-invoicing and automatic tax filing can simplify compliance, reduce errors, and lower administrative costs. Incentive for SMEs to adopt such system can further enhance compliance. Thank you, that's all from me, and move on to the next slide.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nazib Abdul. Now I want to make a conclusion about my group presentation. Okay, based off the presentation above, the implementation of good and service tax (GST) in Malaysia represent a significant economic reform. GST was introduced to replace SST, Sale and Service Tax, to establish a more efficient, transparent, and business-friendly taxation system. It enables tax collection at every stage of supply chain, reduce business costs, and addresses weakness in the security system. While GST has strengths, such as increasing national revenue and addressing the shortcoming of SST, it has faced criticism from due to challenge like public confusion, perceived price hike, and dissatisfaction with its tax rate. Many consumers and business struggle to understand the new tax system and report of unexpected price increase further fueled dissatisfaction. So, in conclusion, although GST demonstrates its potential from economic growth and improve fiscal stability, its implementation highlight areas needing improvement, such as public education, clearer communication, and more inclusive tax policy design. For any future reintroduction, comprehensive reform addressing this challenge will be crucial to ensuring fair and successful acceptance. And now that's all. Thank you for watching. Bye. Assalamualaikum.